Sponsored by DCP Player, a simple way to view a DCP on any Windows-based PC.
I thought what we'd do, because there's a lot going on in the world, digital, and we can't really cover it all, so I thought we'd have a look at some specific issues and challenges and sort of future. So we've got 4 different presentations which try and cover those 4 areas. The first half, we're going to look at how people around the world are trying to resolve the problem of viability of economic models, DPF models. And there are ways in which this is being done. The public sector, for example, in Europe is becoming increasingly present in looking at digital. And the presence or the appearance of funding groups around the world is becoming more and more noticeable. And I chose to look at funding groups. I mean, essentially, all the issues are the same sort of issue. It's all about creativity. It's about finding a way to do things. So I thought we'd look at funding groups from the point of view of the smaller exhibitor coming together to make a larger group, but also from the point of view of a large exhibitor joining up with another large exhibitor. So you have effectively a 2 or 3 partner funding group that makes the model more viable. That'll be the first half, then we'll move on to a problem. A potential problem anyway, a potential obstacle. It's the issue of, now I know you probably all thought this went a long time ago and wouldn't really come back to haunt us, but it is back apparently. It's standards. The whole issue of the DCI process leading to an ISO standard. And I think pretty much everyone in this room probably thinks, well, I thought we had one of those, and we don't really need another one. But there are parts of the world in which this is still a problem, and it's largely a problem when it's for economic reasons. But we're going to hear about why that's coming back to the surface, and is it really something we should be looking at, worrying about. And then the final presentation, we're going to look at the future. It's the question I sort of call it, do we have to do all this again in 10 years' time? And the answer I hope is sincerely not. But there is an issue of digital. No one really has tested the lifespan of equipment yet. So if it is the case that we have to then re-equip in 10 years' time, how's that going to happen? And how does technology fit into that process? But firstly, that's forward, firstly, just a quick sort of context setting. I'm not going to do my normal 25 slides, I only have 5, I promise you. But I thought I'd just set the context around the world about what is actually going on in digital. From this graph, it looks a lot better on there than on my laptop. I couldn't see very much at all, but I sort of assumed it was going to go down there. If you look down the bottom, you see the graph for digital cinema screen growth around the world. And you can see very clearly that it's shot up in 2010. So, end of 2010, there are about 36,000 DCMR screens around the world. And that's grouped around the world in different regions. You can see all regions are growing: Asia, Europe, North America, and the other region is largely Latin America. Grew very strongly in 2010, partly because of the creativity I was talking about, the public sector, funding groups, partly because I think we all know of 3D. Just to take some individual examples around the world, I just highlighted a few countries. You can see over there on the right-hand side, China, South Korea, and Japan. Again, very strong growth. China now with 4,000 digital cinema screens, over more than doubled during 2010. You can see Argentina down there, plus 283%. Essentially, I'm not going to read out all the numbers, you can read them properly, hopefully. But they're all positive, they're all very positive. Doubling, tripling, and in fact, there are some countries which the number went up by 5 times. Again, that's not the reason why we're making this 3D. Last year, in 2010, there were around about 22,000 3D screens around the world of 36,000. So we're looking at about 60% of digital cinema screens around the world are 3D equipped. Probably not enough. I think that this year we'll probably see not as many going in as we did last year. Possibly after that, then a slowing down of growth of new screens, but not obviously negative. That really has been the driver the past 18 months, 2 years, 3D. But you can see the net installs there. Now, net installs basically means in 1 year how many new screens went in. At 2D and 3D. And while the 3D number is obviously very high, so what is it, about 14,000, 13,000 screens, 3D screens went in during the year, and we expect about the same this year. The number that interests me is the 2D, the darker blue bar on the chart, and that number suggests to me very strongly that the wider 2D digital rollout, 3D is not a digital rollout, 3D is 3D, it's a separate thing. But the digital rollout that the world's been looking for and hoping for and anticipating for some time is, I think, starting. Now that's partly to do with DCIP in the States, it's a very large grouping. But it's also, there are many circuits around the world. We're going to hear from one of the Koreans today, for example, who are a circuit digitising entirely. In the UK, you have circuits digitising entirely. In France, in Italy, in Germany, there are many circuits that have 40, 50, 60% of their screens are already digitised. So I believe that the 2D digital rollout has now started. So essentially, to sum up, the journey we've been in the past 3 years, it was one of stall because of the Great Crunch. 3D took over that and provided very, very strong growth with an economic rationale. But then in 2009, 2010, we then started to see a different angle to this, not just the commercial big data rollout, but other people coming into the picture, public sector agencies, individual initiatives from trade bodies, from exhibitors themselves. We're starting to see a much wider influence from the industry itself in how we digitise. That's really what I'm looking at today. And my panellists, we've been through 3D, but the other areas are the ones which we should be exploring and highlighting around the world. So that's last slide of the bar charts. That's my prediction over the next 5 years or so. You can see where we are. In 2010, we're about 33% of the way through the world's convertible screens. My prediction is that very early 2012, actually working out as January the 9th, morning, if you're interested, morning January the 9th, there will be more digital screens in the world than 35mm screens. So that's about a year from now. At that point, 35mm is in the minority around the world. I think that's probably quite a significant moment if it happens like that. So that's enough from me. I'm going to tell you who is coming up to speak, and then I'll let them come up and give you their version individually. So first we're going to have Steve Perrin, some of you may know. He is CEO of the DFP, the Digital Funding Partnership in the UK, which is a funding group. No, it's not. It's a funding partnership. That's not a funding group. It's a funding partnership, which is an accumulation, an amalgamation of 450 screens belonging to some very small cinemas and some smallish sized circuits as well. He's going to tell you what they've done in the UK to put that together. And following on from that, we're going to have James Kang, who is who works for digital in Korea in DCK. He's the director of the systems planning team, so he's going to give you a sort of operational point of view of how the Korean model came together and some of the issues they faced, how it's going now. After that, Phil has been given the job of talking about standards. He's the CEO of the Cinema Exhibitors Association in the UK, and he's going to sort of put some ideas forward about why this might be appearing now, and really sort of give it validity. Is it something that should be worrying people? And lastly, certainly not leastly, we have Michael Karagosian, who is the president of MKPE Consulting, and he's going to talk about the role of technology really in bringing us to the next, sort of past the next 5 to 10 years, and what happens after that. So, that's all from me. I'd like to welcome to the stage Steve Perrin, please. Thanks very much.